My dad came to this country as an immigrant when he was 4, and eventually ended up in upstate New York, where he met my mom. They were very young parents and had 12 children. Joanne is number 5.
There were 2 things. One was teamwork, and the other was self-reliance. And teamwork because she had to work with her siblings, share work, chores, whatever. And self-reliance because her mom was paying a lot of attention to the younger children.
We learned very early how to be self-reliant. What you could do for yourself, you did do for yourself.
You know, Joanne begins her life in Connecticut, has a father in aerospace, and recognizes that the breadwinner, who's this strong Irish American and is defining himself in engineering.
She loved math, but she was also really good at words. But her aim was to be a mathematician.
She got a degree in engineering, electrical engineering at Michigan State, and then moved on to system engineering at UCLA.
She was working 20 hours a week and going to school at the same time with the expectation about 2 years to complete the degree. About a third of the way through that time, she submitted an application to the control systems area, and so we hired her. She was quite a star early on. She was assigned to a number of tasks. It wasn't long, 2 or 3 years, as a member of the technical staff, which is kind of an entry position, that she moved to the staff on at the department level. And then she went to work on a long-term program. So she worked about 4 years on a classified program, and after a couple of years, she did one other program, and then that's when Dan Golden tapped her to be the program manager for the Defense Support Program.
So I was running what was then called the Defense Projects Division, which worked on very important national security issues. And one of the really key technologies involved in a number of the different systems that they built was attitude control. And I started asking around, who's the mover and shaker at attitude control? And it came back, Joanne Maguire.
In the post-Cold War environment, there had been significant downturns in the military aerospace defense industry. But with the events of September 11th, a resurgence was underway to, in effect, prepare the United States far better in the space business, military communications business, intelligence business. And we saw that coming. And in addition to that, Joanne led the business development team that was pursuing the NPOST program, a very, very large weather satellite program, and the James Webb Space Telescope in 2002.
A major competition was run underneath my successor, Sean O'Keefe, and TRW was picked. And only about a year or 2 ago, I was told Joanne was the one who led the charge.
You immediately figure out that she has huge dynamic range. She understands the engineering, and she understands why the engineering matters. So she can put the value proposition together of, if we're going to climb this mountain, here's the ingredients, here's the team we need, here's the job that needs doing.
I think Joanne is widely recognized as a brilliant business strategist, but in my experience, she was also a brilliant talent strategist. She could see things in people that they couldn't see in themselves, and she had a way of putting you in jobs before you were ready to be in those jobs, or in reality you might have been ready, just didn't know it, and then helping you succeed in that job so you could get to the next level.
She develops relationships with people that are enduring, they're real. She has an uncanny way of identifying people when making assignments, picking the right person for the right job.
She calls me to her office and she says, "Hey Dave, look, I think you've got potential to be a leader in this company, but I don't think you're ready. I think you need some career broadening, and I want you to go to Washington, D.C. for a year, maybe 2, and then come back here and we'll see about making you a director." And And I said, well, I said, that all sounds good to me, but can't you broaden me here in California? And she looked at me for a second and she said, no, you have to go to DC. And so I said, well, can I have a week to think about that? And she said, yeah, you have to take a week to think about it. And so I came back a week later and I said, Joanne, I'm gonna go. And she goes, yeah, of course you're gonna go. You weren't gonna tell me no.
I think one of the proudest things I recall in my experiences here at Space Park is the extraordinary accomplishments of women who were leaders here. And to my knowledge, most, if not all of them, mentored under Joanne. There's a large number of women who I think were able to look at the work environment and the success that Joanne had and use that as a guide star to lead them through their careers.
It's easy in 2022 to not fully appreciate the problem that we're talking about. But you go off to study electrical engineering and you look around and you look up and you don't see anybody that looks like you. And then you come into industry and you have your first job and you're seeing how the ropes are and you're looking for birds of a feather to mentor you, and it's not many birds, not many feathers. So she's having to define a way. So as she's moving forward and having some success, she's smart enough and quick enough to sort of say, I ought to help the people behind me have an easier path.
The other thing she brought to every job she had was a fierce competitiveness. She was, I think, the most competitive person I've ever met in my life. It made me sad to know when she left TRW Northrop to go to Lockheed that I was going to have to compete with her.
I don't know if I should say this on camera, but what I can say is that when, up until the point Joanne Maguire left, the few years before that, we had an incredible run of big program wins. James Webb Space Telescope was, kind of at the tail end of that, and so her fingerprints were all over the future of the company in 2001, 2002, and set us up for success for the next 20 years.
It was a great day when Joanne Maguire joined Lockheed Martin. It is somebody who understands the technology and the mission, and we immediately plugged her in to special programs, which allowed her to utilize her expertise on the national security program. And as Joanne was managing the Lockheed Martin Space portfolio, SBIRS was front and center, so she could take her mission understanding from TRW and apply it to the next generation of sensing missile launches from space, but also doing important jobs like battle space awareness.
I would characterize her as a very demanding, but not unreasonably so. In other words, it was to make sure people did the best they could. And so you could expect that from Joanne. And I would say too, there was never any doubt of where you stood with Joanne. In other words, there was no fuzz on it. That if she was happy with you, you knew it, and if she was unhappy, you knew that too.
She has a steel I-beam in her back. Not to be obnoxious and say what can't be done, but to understand what the problem is and to get it done.
I think Joanne had a skill in knowing how hard she could push somebody before they broke, and she did that. She would swear like a sailor on occasions and be smooth as silk on others. And it depended on the circumstances and the individual or the team she was dealing with.
Joanne's superpower is her command of the English language. Every word of the English language, even the words that have not quite made it into the dictionary.
All I can say, I'm not surprised that she's getting the award. She did this on two different companies across multiple customers' communities. As Jeff mentioned, the track record of wins, the program execution, her ability to You know, maybe the most important thing ties back to something I said earlier, which is it wasn't just what Joanne did for Joanne, and it wasn't just what Joanne did for the country. It was Joanne creating all these other space leaders that are running these companies now that learned from Joanne. And that alone is a fantastic accomplishment.
Joanne is brilliant at what she does. Brilliant at what she does. But it's not just the technical piece. It's not. She is an incredible person who cares for and knows how to mentor everyone, but especially women.
It's always nice to be recognized by your peers. And the Space Foundation is a collection of space-minded peers at an international scale. And James Hill is their award that says, you have arrived, you have done it, and although you're not done yet, we're putting you up on the top shelf so that we can all salute your accomplishments.
I think that her contributions over decades have made a difference to the nation, to the world in general, and to the people she touched individually. And I think those characteristics and the excellence that she demonstrated day in, day out make her a extremely fitting recipient to the James C. Hill Award.